Good afternoon. It is 12:30 on your Tuesday. I'm Julie Broughton. This is Take 6. I hope you're having a great day so far. We're so happy you're spending a little bit of time with us today for your afternoon news brief. Now, this morning we did start the day with some clouds and some fog. Some of those clouds are still hanging around, but starting to thin just a little bit. And we have a nice warming trend continuing. We'll talk more about when we'll see temperatures near 80 degrees for you. Coming up with your full forecast in just a few minutes. And if you've joined us before, you know that on Tuesdays, we like to highlight what is going well with our schools and are getting results in our schools segment. So coming up in a few minutes, we will take you to the Future of Education Technology Conference and show you how technology is getting results. And you know, if there is a dog anywhere, I will find it. So I found not one, but two Bernedoodles, and I will tell you what their role in all of this is. You'll want to stick around for that. It is very cool stuff. But first, of course, always lots going on with space. So because of that, we have to bring in our friend, News 6 space expert Eric Von Aken. And Eric, before we get into what's going on with Blue Origin today, it's so exciting to have you here in the newsroom instead of joining us from some secret location. I think last week you were in a broom closet somewhere. So we just never know. So it's so nice to have you right here.
It's nice to be here, Julie. This is strange for me too, because you're right. Last week, I was that was on a Wednesday, but the day before that, if you tried to talk to me or to get me on Take 6, I would have told you that I was underneath a sink cabinet, a vanity, because we were working on that for getting results at home. So that would have been a little tough to try and get the phone in there. So this is a
Yeah.
nice reprieve for me, Julie.
Yes.
Thank you for letting me sit in a chair instead of climbing under something or on top of something. Yeah.
You do all the things. You get results at home, you do protecting our community, and of course, you know all things space. And you've been keeping a very close eye this morning on what is happening with Blue Origin in Texas, where right now their moon gravity launch is in a weather hold. What is happening there? It looks like maybe this isn't going to go. Tell all of it. Tell us all. Tell
Right.
everything.
So you mentioned the weather here, right? So we got some clouds. It appears right now over the launch site in Texas, Blue Origin's launch site, where they launched this sub-orbital rocket right there. There's some clouds too. In fact, it looks kind of gray there today, kind of like it did this morning here in Central Florida. One of the reasons they don't like to launch on cloud-filled days is because rockets can go through clouds, and depending on what's in those clouds, they could actually generate lightning. Certainly, they don't fly through thunderstorms, but they can actually generate lightning. So that's one of the concerns. The other thing is that they like to see it. So this is interesting, Julie, because this rocket Blue Origin uses regularly to ferry people to the edge of space, not quite into space, right at the line. So they can't say that they've been to space, but they've been very close. So the picture you're looking at has the capsule on top, and you see it's got the windows on top. This time, no people. They're putting a whole bunch of experiments on board this capsule to go, as we said, near the edge of space, because NASA has asked them, look, they've said we're going to fly back to the moon with the Artemis moon missions, and NASA says we have these 29 experiments that we would like to fly in lunar gravity. So the gravity on the moon, as you know, is much less than on Earth. It's about 1/6 of the gravity on back home here on Earth. So, and we know that because we've seen videos of some of our astronauts walking on the moon, and they look like they're kind of floating. They take a step and they kind of jump a little bit. So there is gravity, and I didn't realize this. I think when I was younger, there is gravity on the moon. It's just that there's very little compared to Earth. So what NASA wants to figure out is when we do go back to the moon, whenever the Artemis mission, the second and third, finally fly, and we live on the moon, and we spend some time there and build a base on the moon. How do we do all these things that we'd like to do? So, for example, one of the experiments is something called a honey bubble excitation experiment. It's called HB, study how bubbles behave in thick liquids on the lunar surface. So Remember we spent I don't know, years and years collectively with the International Space Station orbiting the Earth, but that's in zero gravity or microgravity, they call it, which is different than the gravity on the moon. So if we're living on the moon and, I don't know, you're eating or you're cooking, right? And there are bubbles in liquid, like what happens to those bubbles in 1/6 of the gravity on Earth? I mean, do they bubble up? Do they bubble less? Not so important for cooking, but when you think of like gases in your body, right? So one of the things that divers worry about, when they dive too quickly, is too much nitrogen building up or not burning, coming out of the bloodstream, and that's what leads to that disease called the bends that
Hmm.
divers get. Decompression sickness. So, what happens to the bubbles in your bloodstream when you're on the surface of the moon, for longer than a few hours? Another one, and this really got my attention. Another experiment that they're doing, Julie, is it's called Lunar G Combustion Investigation. So the experiment aims to learn how materials behave when they catch fire
Hmm.
in lunar gravity. Now, never in the history of the International Space Station have they actually set anything on fire inside the space station. You could probably guess why, right? A fire in space is really, really, really bad. The Chinese, this is something I just found out. The Chinese just did this over the past several months on their space station. Remember, China has built their own space station. It's also orbiting the Earth. They're sending their own Chinese astronauts because the Chinese Space Agency does not participate with the American Space Agency, NASA, and the European Space Agency. So they're doing their own thing, and they're deciding, yeah, it's okay to light fires in space. This was a test that they did in a controlled environment as much as possible, but they did light a fire in their space station to see how a flame would burn in microgravity. So now the idea is to do it in lunar gravity. Now, you're hearing all of this, Julie, and I know that your next question to me is going to be, well, how in the world are they going to simulate lunar gravity if they're not even going into space, if they're certainly not going to the moon? And it's this suborbital rocket that's not a big boy or a big girl that gets us into space. This little guy, right, that normally just takes up people. So Blue Origin has figured out how to fire their thrusters as they get up towards the edge of the atmosphere. I think it's. I know you want to know this, so I'll tell you. It's 11 revolutions per minute,
I was wondering.
just enough. I knew you were going to ask me that after, so I figured I'd just share it with everybody. So, just fast enough to create some gravity inside this capsule there on the right side of your screen. Again, just 1/6 of the gravity that you would feel on Earth. So, it adds a little bit of weight there. And then that's when all of these experiments are going to happen inside the capsule, these 30 experiments. So, then the capsule lands, and then NASA takes all the payloads, the experiments on board, and hopefully they get some answers about things that. Um, not just that you need to know, I guess, if you're going to live on the moon, but things that you probably never even thought that you should test, like the bubbles in the liquid, right?
Right. Yes, that's why we're not rocket scientists, because that certainly never crossed my mind. So that's why I'm doing this and not that. Now, we don't think it's going to go today. If it doesn't go today, when might this thing go?
So typically Blue Origin doesn't publish a whole lot about their launch windows. In fact, I'm looking at this live picture here. We don't even know how long this launch window is because they didn't tell us. Unlike trying to get to the International Space Station, where you have to launch at a precise time, the launch window is always that very second. So if you miss the window, because of course, the space station is moving around the Earth, and then it has now moved out of line. So if you're trying to get from Cape Canaveral up to the space station and you're trying to burn the least amount of fuel, you have to time it when the space station will be where you're going to be at the time when you want to rendezvous with the space station with that capsule. So that's not the case because they're just floating around. So theoretically, I guess there's really not much of a limit on their launch window. If you're watching at home and you're thinking, I'd like to see this thing go up, I'll tell you two things. One is I don't know that the weather's going to clear quickly enough for them to try, except that they have a lot of time. Um, because again, it doesn't really matter when they launch. Second thing is, I don't know that we're going to see, or you are going to be able to see this maneuver where it adds the gravity,
Mhm.
because again, I think it's like 50 miles up is the Kármán line, something like that. So, will we be able to see what the rocket is doing or what the capsule is doing? Maybe faintly, but and they, I would also expect, because it's Blue Origin, they have some cameras inside the capsule, so maybe you can see stuff. It's just visually, I don't know that we're going to see fires lighting and bubbles bubbling inside the capsule. Maybe some of that video is released when they land. But
Yeah.
hey, if you want to see a rocket launch, give it a shot at least for a little bit longer.
Yeah. It's always fun. It's never not fun to see a rocket launch.
Because you never know.
That's
Exactly, right?
right.
So
Yes.
typically these go very well. Blue Origin has only had one anomaly, I think, in the history of their launches, when the capsule had to separate from the rocket very quickly. And it was fine, and it came down, and it was kind of uneventful. There were no people on board that time. Again, no people on board this time. But yeah, there's always the potential that it might be a little bit more exciting than it's supposed to be, I guess.
We don't want to wish undue excitement on anyone.
No, no,
So,
no,
Eric, is
definitely
this
not.
what you're working on for News 6 today? What are you doing today in house? It's so exciting to see you here. It's like a celebrity because we never see you in person. So, everyone's coming over to talk to you, and you probably aren't getting much of your work done.
Where's the celebrity? Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
You, yes, because
You're
you're always
you're
out.
very
We don't
sweet.
get to see you in
Um,
person.
okay, so I'll share this with everybody. You know this. So I had my appendix removed
Hmm.
precisely 6 days ago. Not by choice. I had an appendicitis. It started with Monday, because everyone wants to know this. So, hey, I'll just share with you. Monday I had a stomach ache. Didn't it was just a stomach ache. And then Tuesday after work, I came home and it was really such awful stomach pain that I had to get into bed and I couldn't move for most of the evening and most of the night. Overnight Tuesday, I woke up several times. It had shifted to the lower right quadrant of my abdomen, which is a telltale sign that it's an appendicitis. Wednesday morning, woke up, fully intended to go to work. In fact, Julie, I had my new six shirt on. I was supposed to do an interview in Sanford with the Sanford Police Department. Um, I kind of knew what was going on, but still, I was hoping I had some time. I stopped at my doctor in the morning before the interview, primary care, just for a second opinion. They poked on my abdomen, and I jumped, and they said you need to get to the hospital now. Because of course the risk is perforation. So what I will tell everybody, it did not burst, it didn't perforate. They got it in time. But what I will tell everybody, I mean, I was going on day 3. Um, I'm old, but I thought maybe I was too old to have an appendicitis. My brother had one when he was like 12. We happened to be in Paris at the time, and he was complaining of a stomach ache. And my parents said, "You're fine." So of course they took us to Paris because they planned this trip. And he spent his week in Paris in the hospital getting his
Oh,
appendix removed. So typically it's a kid thing, right? You think it's a kid thing. I learned I'm not too old. And if you are having some sort of stomach pain and it continues, don't wait 3 days like I did. It's very possible you could have an appendicitis too. I don't know that there's any known cause. So there's talk of like if you eat too much red meat. I will say that I did have some meat over the weekend, more than I usually do. So I wonder if it was linked. But anyway, it happened. And I'm old and apparently not too old. So doesn't matter the age. If you get this, and it's, kind of strange in your stomach, get it checked out. Why not? So that's why I'm here today,
well, first of all,
sitting.
we're so happy that you are feeling better. It's impressive to be back at work 6 days after that. Also, I like that you referenced that you stopped at your doctor, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the PCP was your first stop, but you called it a second opinion. So is that your opinion was the first opinion and then your doctor was the second opinion, or had you consulted someone else? The doctor
Yeah.
confirmed what you thought?
I mean, our own opinion is always right. Our,
Right.
our first opinion, and we think it's the best. I had actually called a very close friend who was also a primary care doctor,
Okay.
and he had just had it.
Oh,
We're about
wow.
the same age. He's a little younger and a lot better looking and smarter. And he went through this, and Julie, same thing. He wasn't sure what it was, and then of course it got worse, and then he had to get it taken out. Um, but he this is, I shouldn't even share this with everybody. So um, don't use this as gospel here, guys. But he said, try and jump on one leg. So first jump on your left leg,
Hmm.
which I did, which was fine. He said, now your right, because the appendix is on the right side. He said, now jump on your right leg. And Julie, I did that. So this was early Wednesday morning, and it was it was not excruciating, but it was definitely painful. So much more than the left leg. And
Hmm.
as soon as I did that, and he heard me on the phone, kind of like yelp, and he's like,
Screaming.
"Yeah," uh, it's like that's not a good sign. So then I
Right.
went to the PCP, and she actually pushed on my stomach, and then I yelped again.
Oh my goodness, you've had quite a week, Eric. This is a lot to
People, yeah,
process.
jumping on one leg, people poking me. So I was back here Saturday and Sunday
Hmm.
because I got out of the hospital Thursday, and then of course I thought I'd be fine because I'm a guy, and I wasn't. But yeah, Saturday and Sunday I was able to anchor, and I explained to my gracious managers, if I can just sit in a chair and not move other than my fingers, that would be fine. So this is my first day back, trying to get to somewhat normal duties during the week, as you know, all the other things that
Yeah.
I do. So I'm trying to do that
Okay.
today
Well,
without a whole
don't
lot of movement.
move, and I will roll you back to your desk. You're at Matt Austin's desk right now, so don't move. And when I'm finished, I will push you back to your desk in a rolling chair, if that would
I
help.
hope you're quick. Yeah, because I don't want to be sitting here for half an hour. Like when you get off the plane and you wait for the person
Right.
to roll the
Right.
wheelchair up.
Yeah.
I will tell you, Julie, and everybody else, this is a special appearance because it took me about 25 minutes to roll from my desk over to Matt's desk.
It did not. But I'm glad you're feeling better. I know that's been rough. I don't think most people will be back at work 6 days after surgery. So,
Eh,
that's impressive. So
thank you
sit
for saying
there.
that.
We'll come wheel you back over in just a few minutes.
Got to do something, right?
All
And
right.
it's, sitting at home is not going to help. So here I am.
All right, Eric, thank you so much.
Nice to see you all.
Stay with us. We are going to take a short break. And when we come back, we will check out our Getting Results in Our School segment, where we talk a little bit about technology in schools combined with Bernedoodles. And we will also check out your full 7-day forecast. Stay with us. We're back in 2 minutes. You take six. It is 12:49. I'm Julie Broughton. That was a beautiful shot of Daytona Beach. Still a little bit of cloud cover hanging around. Some of that is thinning out. We have a big warm up on the way that I will tell you about with your full forecast in just a moment. But first, on Tuesdays, we like to tell you what is going well in our schools. So this week, photojournalist Paul Giorgio and I take you to the Future of Education Technology Conference and show you how educators and technology are getting results in our schools.
So you are standing smack dab in the middle of the Future of Education Technology Conference, FETC's show floor. We have over 400 exhibitors here, all ed tech providers.
Thousands of educators were here exploring more than 4,000 exhibits showcasing the latest in education technology, from drones to virtual reality and lots of AI.
What we have to do is shift into not being afraid of technology, embracing it. And so getting it into the hands of teachers, training them, then getting it into the hands of students so that they're using it and they're learning.
Amy Dujon, the vice president of FETC, explained the show is designed to feel like a community, laid out in neighborhoods like Pitch Fest, active learning, and emerging businesses.
Here's our AI generator.
That's where we met Marley Strawn, the co-founder of Scholar Education.
We're an AI-powered platform that's really focused on creating personalized learning for students.
Strawn says this platform is designed to take the fear out of AI.
So these AI-powered assistants were inspired by some very real Bernedoodles. Meet Baxter and Bruce. You guys are so good.
They're brothers, they've never been separated, and they're about 3.5 years old, and their personalities match their responsibilities at Scholar. So Baxter is a little bit more rambunctious, and that's why his personality lends itself well for the students. And then Bruce is a little stoic, and he's a little bit more well-behaved, and that's why he's the teacher assistant, Professor Bruce.
Strawn showed us how Scholar Education works.
This is the student portal. This is an example of a pilot lesson plan that our teacher created. It's on 6th grade English. It's on the book A Wrinkle in Time, and it's on figurative language.
BaxterBot can offer hints and guidance and learns a student's reading level to tailor communication.
I like up here he tells them not to discuss anything inappropriate.
Yes, we have a lot of guardrails in place. In fact, if the student does do anything inappropriate, the teacher gets an automatic notification.
Strawn says this is the only platform of its kind created using teacher feedback.
We've helped implement 3,600 accommodations for special education students. We've implemented 45,000 personalized learning communications with BaxterBot, and teachers are saving on average 5 hours a week on lesson planning, grading, and supporting students.
The goal here, not just to talk about the future, but to build it. I told you, if there is a dog anywhere, I will find it. That was at the Orange County Convention Center. A lot of people there, but those two Bernedoodles really draw you in. Now, Scholar Education is in its pilot season, so to speak, so it's in a few counties right now. It is expanding. If you are an administrator or a teacher and you're interested in bringing BaxterBot to your school, you can go to joinscholareducation.com to join their waiting list. And I'll put much more for you about this on clickorlando.com. Now let's get a check of your forecast as we are rolling through your Tuesday afternoon. Here's what it looks like for you right now on the satellite and radar imagery. You can see we've seen some clouds hanging around, and that little area of brown you see, that was a cold front yesterday. It's kind of morphed into just a little bit of a trough that's moved through our area, mostly dry. We maybe saw a few sprinkles earlier today, but overall a dry passage, a little bit of patchy fog in place this morning, but overall we'll see skies clearing throughout the afternoon. We were much more mild this morning than we have been recently. 52 was your low in Cocoa Beach. You started the day at 53 in Daytona Beach and 51 in Leesburg. We have warmed nicely right now in both Orlando and Kissimmee. We're sitting at 70, 69 in Ocala, 65 in the Villages, and it is 64 in Palm Coast. Here is your clouds and rain forecast as we roll you through the day. Again, we're seeing some clouds. Those will continue to thin. Temperatures will get a couple of degrees warmer before we hit sunset, with 73 on average, our high for our interior spots. If you're along the coast, you'll range from the upper 60s to the low 70s. Winds right now generally coming in out of the west for most of us. We have seen a little bit of a sea breeze developing generally to the south of the Cape, but we'll continue to see winds light and variable throughout the day. Overnight tonight, you go to 44 in Ocala, 50 in Kissimmee, and 47 in Daytona Beach. Here's how it looks for the next 7 days. We continue warming to close to 80 on Thursday. Then Friday, ahead of a cold front, we go all the way to 83. That front comes through for the first part of the day on Saturday. It will be a weak front, but we'll have about 20% chance of a few showers before we see highs cooling into the upper 70s on Saturday, 79 on Sunday, and 82 on Monday. We will break all of this down for you in much greater detail starting on News 6 at 4. If you have any questions or comments for us at Take 6, head to clickorlando.com/take6. Let us know what you're thinking. Thanks so much for spending some time with us today, and I will see you on TV at 4.